All right, everyone. Steve Metrics here of No Debate Sports. A little bit later today, but I'm here with yo boy.
DJ Triggs.
And we are here on Championship Sunday, DJ Triggs. How about that? We got some really cool games today. I had some fun games last weekend. Pretty excited for today.
Man, it's strange on one side and familiar on the other side.
It is. Yeah, it is familiar on the other side, but man, I'm way excited for that NFC Championship. I think that is really cool.
Agreed. Like that might be the one that everyone's looking forward to.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, I actually yesterday I went to Potawatomi, our local casino, and I was thinking about doing some sports bets, but I kind of thought about it. I kind of thought about how I did in the divisional round, and yeah, I am just sitting back and enjoying this. To me, these are two pretty tough games that I really don't want to roll the dice on.
Right. It's like, okay, so if you play with your heart, I know your Commanders all the way right now.
Oh heck yeah, let's go.
Like it's better to just sit back and kind of go, you know what? Let's be a fan and see what happens.
Yep.
And if you're going with your like, beginning of the season favorites, well, the Eagles and the Chiefs are still sitting there. And that's kind of what everyone thought was going to happen at the beginning. And it's like, but man, some people, they're like, oh, Josh Allen's the favorite for MVP. Okay. I can see why we'd go that way. Man, this Jaden Daniels kid is going crazy. Okay, I can see going that way too. But the favorites are still there.
Yeah, they are still there. Definitely, like, the way that Kansas City got there to me is the fact that they are just amazingly well coached. I mean, you have the best defensive coordinator, the best offensive coordinator in the game, and you have pretty good personnel pretty much top to bottom on that lineup. That absolutely carries them to this point. So, granted, I mean, there could be some things here and there. I don't know, but we really thought that basically the Chiefs were going to get to this step and they were going to face either Baltimore and Buffalo.
Yeah.
And that absolutely happened. So it just is a matter of the math and how things are. And I can't really fault Kansas City or anything about that. It's just that they knew that this was going to happen. There's only so many teams in the AFC, and it just is what it is that the fourth place team in the AFC just didn't really have too much fight in them in that divisional game at Kansas City. It just kind of went the way we thought it would.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about it a little last week, but it's like I was just looking at the stats of that game. Less time of possession, less yards, less passing yards, 100 less rushing yards, less first downs, less sacks, less total plays, and they still won by nearly 10.
Yeah, that's coaching.
Yeah, there's no other way to put it. Like, they literally got smoked in every statistical category, and they didn't have more turnovers. Turnover battle was 0-0.
Yep.
And they still won by 9. So, like, and 9 didn't even sound like that. Doesn't even seem close because it felt like it was more than 9. Like,
yeah, I was sweating 8.5. I can tell you that. I was sweating 8.5 on my spread, but sure enough, I won that. I won my Washington upset over Detroit, and then I lost both my games over the weekend on Sunday. So it is what it is. But I felt that Texans game against Kansas City was going to be kind of an 11-ish double-digit kind of win, which is why I like that 8.5. Going back now, anytime you got something like that, just play it safe and just play with 6.5 and not 8.5. So I learned that the hard way, but I was on the positive side of that.
Yeah, and like then the game was close. We went into the fourth quarter, 12-13, and then Patrick Mahomes was like, "Ho hum, I'm gonna go throw a touchdown."
Absolutely.
Okay. and now we don't have to play anymore. Like, it just didn't make any sense to me. And then, like, it was kind of the same thing with the Eagles and the Rams. Like, the Rams had the game, but then the Eagles were just like, oh, well, guess what? I mean, we'll go score in the fourth quarter. We'll get a field goal. We'll get a touchdown. All right. You guys got anything else? And that was it.
Yeah, it's pretty much the in the Eagles side, they have it a little bit differently than Kansas City, but they do both play similar styles. They both know that their quarterback play isn't just like going to steamroll opponents and just be stone cold killers. They're going to use their front lines on the offensive and defensive sides. And that's how they want to win games. And they want to win games kind of ugly. Philadelphia has to run it hard with Saquon. But Kansas City has no problem winning ugly no matter what side of the ball they have to score on.
Yeah. And, I mean, it was kind of the same thing. Time of possession was pretty close. They had less yards. Yeah, they had more rushing yards. But, I mean, they had 65 passing yards. Like, that's a little weird. Penalties, they had less first downs. The big difference was they had less turnovers, but they had less plays. Basically, they were less on everything except turnovers. And, like, I believe they were up, 2 scores? And then
the Rams and almost lost
down at the end. Yeah, right.
Yes.
And it was like, you're up double digits in the fourth quarter, but then they're just like, we'll let them score, whatever. Like, they almost felt like they were never in trouble.
Yeah, they did. But when you're going up against a high-octane offense in Matt Stafford and the Rams, you kind of have that prevent and you kind of have that fail-safe that you can kind of rely on. So I think that's kind of how they try to get through games. And it's a little more riskier than how Kansas City has that style and can get through games. Kansas City is more, honestly, diverse and can kind of come at you from different waves, whether it's on offense or defense. Philly has their script. They know how they plan on winning pretty much every single game. They're going to win every game in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and they have to have Saquon Barkley do his thing, and they need Jalen Hurts to execute a few plays. If they don't get all of that, they're kind of in trouble.
Right.
That's pretty much what I see going on with the Philadelphia Eagles. The one thing, though, that I did notice across all of these divisional games is every team that ended up winning didn't have a single turnover. Every single team that won was clean on turning the ball over, and they won possibly the turnover margin in their favor. The only one was Texans and Chiefs that did not go that way. Right. Just no turnovers there. But, man, like Sunday, it was pretty interesting. The Rams clearly lost their game because they had 2 turnovers. Yep. Then the other game, the Ravens just lost because they had 3 turnovers. And we found out the only team that can beat the Ravens is the Ravens.
Yeah. That's literally the perfect way to put it. I mean, now, to me, these 2 games were complete opposite of the Saturday games where, the Saturday games, like we said, we kind of seen the Eagles and the Chiefs. They were ahead. They kind of were just ho-hum. Oh, we need a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Saquon, go run. Oh, Patrick Mahomes, go be Patrick Mahomes. All right, we're going to win this game. Let's take the foot off the gas. We're good. Well, the Buffalo game, it was, what was it? It was like 21-7 or something like that at one point.
Yeah, it was.
And like, you were just like, oh, you're getting boat raced. Like, this isn't close anymore. And like you said, it was the turnover. But then I even look at the stats here. Baltimore, 400 yards of offense.
They crushed it.
Yeah. They had more passing yards, more rushing yards. Like, Josh Allen only had 126 passing yards. the big throw guy,
Yeah.
And then you had more penalties, you had more turnovers.
Yep.
And that's the game. And
That's a
they
lot of
even had a
negative
shot.
yardage.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah. And they had a shot still, but like you never really thought they had a shot. Like being down 21 or like in the second quarter, or it was 21-10 now that I think about it.
Yeah.
That's a lot to come back by.
Yeah, it is. It's a massive amount of points to come back from. Looking at what was going on with the Ravens, I mean, and I saw this in the Rams game too. Like, I loved how both teams could score at will, and that is why I went with those teams. But the fact is that neither of those teams could really be organized at holding onto the ball. I mean, seeing the sack that Lamar Jackson took, and then he tries to get like desperate and crazy at the last moment and just fumbles the ball on the ground as he's getting sacked. Made no sense. It's that kind of immaturity at this point that is really making me question what is going on with this team, along with the penalties as well that you brought up. And then the thing that shocked me that I ended up hearing from a friend at work who greatly dislikes Lamar Jackson, and I'm totally confused why. Because I got one friend who really loves Lamar Jackson. He had Lamar on his fantasy team, and then I have another friend who greatly dislikes him. But it was kind of weird because at the end of the game, you saw Lamar Jackson was like super happy and giddy and goes and congratulates Josh Allen. And then you also see that he, in the press conference, to me, was kind of giddy and kind of good personality. I don't know. I've never seen a quarterback as bubbly and giddy after losing a game that sets you up for the championship game of your conference. So I was really kind of thrown off by that. I'm like, what's going on here? Turns out my friend at work who dislikes Lamar told me that people figured out his what he was saying to Josh Allen when they met at the midfield to congratulate the Bills at the end of that game. And Lamar Jackson is telling Josh Allen that he's excited to go to Cancun and he's going to have nachos poolside. And if he wants to join him there, like give him a call, hit him up, and he'll be there. And to me, that really is really disturbing to me when it comes to Lamar Jackson, because I love the way he plays. I love the way that offense went. But if you don't have that cold attitude of being serious about that, it really comes back to bite you in these key moment games, especially like last year with the immaturity of Zay Flowers in that game against the Chiefs. And that's where I think we look at Josh Allen, and it's why my gut is kind of leaning towards the Bills today, that Josh Allen kind of has this different demeanor about himself, that he's more almost humble and more of, hey, we just got to win this game. We have to fight to live another day. And we really just have to take care of business against the Chiefs. That's all that matters. Doesn't matter that he's 0-3 against Josh Allen. Doesn't matter that he's more explosive than Patrick Mahomes. But that's that kind of attitude that you want to see in a guy who's a winner. Like Joe Burrow's got that kind of attitude as well. So I don't know what's going on with Lamar, man. Like I like the way he's playing, but the way that he carries himself and the way that team just seems to have this massive lack of immaturity, when really they probably only have maybe a 2-year window left with Derrick Henry playing at this level, is really concerning. And I'd like to figure out what's going on there, because I have massive concerns about Baltimore moving forward if this is the real attitude that we're seeing out of Lamar, where it's more, to me, it almost reeks of like Carmelo Anthony in the NBA minus the Olympics. It's kind of that attitude that I'm seeing now that I'm really concerned with.
Okay. So I'll quick defend him. I actually didn't hear that quote, but I'll give him a little defense. At the end of the day, like it's hard to tell what kind of person a player is, because we don't get to see them, you know. Maybe him and Josh Allen are actually buddies, and we don't know that. So maybe he's like, hey, yo, you beat me, but Patrick Mahomes is about to send you home, so I'll get a room waiting for you. Maybe
Absolutely.
that's the joke. And
Right.
the only reason I bring that up when you were saying that is because you're wearing a Milwaukee Bucks like hat and shirt, right?
Yeah.
Think about our star, Giannis.
Yep.
Giannis tells dad jokes during press conferences.
Totally.
We saw him win it. He won an NBA title, and what was the thing he did the next? He literally took the trophy with him to Chick-fil-A, right?
Right.
And it was hilarious, and all of us Bucks fans were rejoicing. There was a line at Chick-fil-A, like literally destroying Capitol Drive here in Milwaukee, and but if you're on the outside, and then you look and you're on, Boston. Look how the other, what was that, like a month or two ago, we played Boston. We were getting smoked. He goes over by Jaylen Brown, goes to handshake him, goes like this. And, everyone's like, oh, man, that guy's immature. And even Jaylen Brown was like, man, he's a kid. Oh, I don't know why he's doing that, blah, blah, blah. And kind of like being a bit disrespectful to him. But at the same time, that's just Giannis.
Yeah.
He does have a kid-like demeanor to him.
Totally.
But he never turns that off. He's also a dog, though.
He is.
When it comes to, hey, Giannis, I need you to go get 30, Giannis is going to bang, smash into you, and he's going to mean mug you. He's going to do all of that stuff. But then he'll turn around and he's laughing, he's high-five, doing his thing, making fun of his brother,
Absolutely.
The press conference about a week ago, someone was talking about Chris Middleton being back, and he doesn't have the same pop and flair that he used to, and all this. And Giannis goes, "Yeah, man, Chris Middleton's kind of slow. I was telling him that, he's slowing the team down, but he's laughing and joking." And
nice.
I literally read it. I read it on a sports site. They put that quote in, and then we're like, oh, Giannis is bashing his teammate. Why would he say that? And I'm like, wow. They literally spun the exact words he said, the exact quote, and made it he's bashing Chris Middleton. This means Middleton's getting traded and this and this.
No.
But if you would have seen if you would have seen the press conference, he's making, he's having fun making fun of Middleton. Yeah, because that's his boy. And because everyone else is, even us Bucks fans, a lot of Bucks fans are going, oh, yeah, Middleton he's hurt all the time. He needs to get put out of here, this and this. And Giannis is like, yeah, man, that dude is slow. I know. And then,
exactly.
So I look at this Lamar Jackson thing the same way. Maybe he was making a joke with his buddy, and we don't actually know. The game's over. He knows he's going home. Maybe he goes, hey, you haven't beat Patrick Mahomes either, so I'll get the room next door ready for you in Cancun. Come on down.
For me though, the only difference is that both of them basically from the moment they started professionally is that they both were kind of set on this pedestal that they're both going to win it. They're both going to win an NBA champ or win a championship of their league at some point, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of work. To me, Giannis really put in that work, and he's got that drive of a champion, and he did it. So he has that provenance to know that, hey, I actually did this. I went out there, I won a championship. Now I can really show you who I am and be a little more casual when talking people and whatnot. For me, Lamar Jackson, when he entered the league, when he was drafted on draft day, he said he was going to bring Baltimore a championship and win a Super Bowl. I remember that better than almost any other player being drafted at the moment they were being drafted. And man, I was with you this season. I really felt that this was Baltimore's year, and especially the way they were ending that season was super, super hot. I mean, I did think that Buffalo would probably be their toughest team along their path to the Super Bowl. Possibly a Philly could be kind of weird because we know they lost to Philly as well. But man, I really thought that this was their year, and you only have so many cracks at it until it just won't happen. I mean, you only have so many cracks until you become like Kyler Murray, to be honest.
Can I
But
give?
I hope he gets it.
Can I give you a sneaky comparison?
Sure.
Think of it this way: when Lamar Jackson came out of Louisville, he won. Didn't he win the Heisman? Am I right?
Yeah. He did. Yep.
And he won the Heisman, and every single talking head in the world, and clearly every scout except Baltimore, he should go wide. He should be a wide receiver, right? Ooh. Remember that? That was.
I remember hearing that. I never agreed with it, but I did remember hearing that.
I didn't either. But he kept falling down the board. The Heisman quarterback, this dynamic offensive weapon, and he fell all the way to what, like 30 or something like that, somewhere far.
I think he was 32 because
32.
The Ravens were at the beginning of round 1, and then they were at the beginning of round 2, and they traded up into round 1.
Yeah. So late first round pick for the Heisman Trophy winner that they also want to change into a wide receiver. Look at Giannis. Giannis was a project. He was this long, and oddly enough, he grew like 3 inches, 4 inches. He was like a 6'8", 6'9". Jason Kidd put him at point guard at one point because they were just like, yeah, this dude's, he doesn't really have handles, but he's long and fast, and he can't shoot. We don't really know what to do with him, but we drafted him, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, he sat for a little bit, and then he started playing, and you're like, oh, this dude's kind of neat. Like, he won most improved, I believe. And then all of a sudden, guess what? Here's that comparison. 2 MVPs, wins a title a couple years later. Yep. Lamar Jackson, 2 MVPs.
Possibly a third.
I think because Allen won, they're going to give it to him, which, on this show, we don't believe any of that hype.
No.
But 2 MVPs, and now he's got an extra weapon in Derrick Henry.
Yep.
Well, guess what? Giannis got 2 MVPs. They gave him an extra weapon in Drew Holiday, and then he wins a championship.
I think that's massive, laying that out, that like you have those extra weapons. And I think Baltimore too, they're going to look at adding a third. Yep. They absolutely have to. They know they can run that 12 personnel out there, but losing Zay Flowers, I think kind of rubbed them the wrong way. Rashad Bateman really developed, and that was really cool going on there. I think a team, I'll put it this way. Thinking things through, I really, really think that once we hit free agency, I think either the Ravens or Washington is going to land Davante Adams.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that was a theory you brought up a while ago, was Davante Adams to the Ravens before the season started. And it makes a ton of sense. And not only that, it's that same kind of style that the Raiders were running, where it's almost like you have 3 tight ends. And this is what we want to look at for metrics moving forward for the NFL, for No Debate Sports, is that honestly, players of the archetype of Davante Adams don't really qualify as wide receivers. To me, they are a different position. They are outside tight ends. And I think that's what Davante Adams is. You put Davante, Zay Flowers, and then you put Mark Andrews, and you put the other tight end out there. Like, man, that is a scary lineup. And also, by the way, Derrick Henry's in the backfield, and Lamar Jackson plays quarterback. That is unbeatable, man. And I'm telling you, if they can land something stupid like that, I think they would be the Super Bowl favorites going into next season. Those odds will be a little weighted towards the 2 teams that are in the game. But, man, I would really, really like to see what the odds are for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl after this season concludes.
Now, here's the thing. So they brought in, and I know we're getting into, the off season already, but
it's so good.
Was it Deontay Johnson, right? And then they cut him.
That was so weird.
So they did try to go get another weapon.
They did.
But the guy seems like a head case or something. Great. he's been cut by like 4 teams, which is kind
this
of
season
or traded. But
Yeah.
right. Now think about it this way. So the Ravens actually have $13 million in cap.
Yeah,
Now,
that's not much.
I know, but think of it. But check this out. People might not think so, but Mark Andrews is he's kind of a maybe. They've got Isaiah Likely. They could draft another tight end. There's a couple coming out of college that could be really nice.
Yeah.
If they cut him, that's $11 million in savings. They could open up 25-ish just with that one cut.
Yeah.
That gives you a top-notch receiver. Oh,
totally.
Maybe you go get the guy that is leaving one of your rivals. Maybe you go get T. Higgins and you put him on this team with Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry.
Right.
Now that's a bad man. Maybe,
absolutely.
Maybe you're thinking a little crazy like me and as a Packer fan. Maybe you go trade a second or a third round pick and you go get DK Metcalf from Seattle.
Oof. That's another good one.
Maybe you go, hey, Devontae, we really believe we have a top-notch team. Would you take $15 million to come be on an actual winning team?
Right.
Does Devontae say no to that?
Probably not. I'm with you on that, man. The number I was kicking around in my head was 17.
Yeah.
I was thinking 17 million gets you Devontae at least for one season.
At least one season. And that's the same thing and that's why the DK Metcalf trade is so crazy to me for maybe the Chargers, the Ravens, the Packers. He's a 1-year rental.
Oh, man.
So
he's insane. That's a top 10 wideout.
Ooh,
it's
okay.
Close. Yeah.
Let's go top 15 and just make it even.
Yeah, that's fair.
Either way, that's a number one, a clear-cut number one.
Oh, yeah, straight up bona fide one, for sure.
And now you blow him down the sideline and Zay Flowers on the other side and give Likely and Henry the middle? What do you do?
Yeah.
And I've seen anywhere from a second or a third round pick for Seattle, and Seattle sends back Metcalf in a 6 or a 7.
Okay.
Why wouldn't any team do that right now? Seattle is basically just going, take everybody.
Right. Yeah, that seems absolutely insane for value. I like a 2 or 3 for DK Metcalf. I mean, I would think it would almost cost both to pull that off.
I've only seen one because you don't know if he's going to re-sign with you, which is kind of the big deal right now. And it's Seattle does not want him. Not in a mean way or anything, but Seattle needs to restart. They may need to move Geno Smith.
Yes, I've heard that.
I mean, Tyler Lockett's not the same guy.
Well, he's about to retire pretty soon.
Yeah, their running backs are all beat up. They've already got Jackson Smith and Jigba, so they got their guy for the future. Why would they pay 20 plus, maybe even 30 million to a receiver that they're not really in the market to use?
Yeah. I mean, I think this team had a lot of potential to make that receiving core one of the best in the NFL, and Geno Smith just fell flat, man.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we were thinking. We were thinking this season, I mean, I had them as a playoff team, but I thought it was rather likely that Geno Smith could transform back into a pumpkin.
Yep.
And he became a pumpkin.
For lack of a better way to put it, he was a pumpkin.
Yep. So I think you're spot on that. Honestly, you look at that Seattle offense, and JSN is probably the only piece you really want to hold on to. Kenneth Walker is really cool. He's a hell of a player, pretty much impossible to take down, but he is not out there consistently. So you got that going on. I like Kenny McIntosh, but is he going to get enough reps? I don't know. But yeah, I feel like that offense is almost total rebuild now.
It has to be. So I literally just pulled it up just for giggles. They're $28 million in the hole right now.
Ooh.
And that team's bad. Bad. They're basically a middle of the pack. hey, we could possibly make the playoffs, but we're not going to
They're
get a
third
top pick.
place.
Yeah, they're in the middle. They're between that 15 to 20 range. That's not going to get you a top-notch guy.
Yeah.
Maybe they draft a quarterback. Like, literally pulling up their cap, it says they'll be forced to cut Tyler Lockett, guaranteed.
Yep.
They have to restructure Geno Smith. They'll possibly cut Draymond Jones for $16 million, Noah Fant for $9 million. Like, they literally have to just start taking people off the books. Like, why not go in there and be the team that goes, hey, poke, DK Metcalf?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. I think that's a team that is definitely hitting the rebuild button. And not only that, this season was kind of an obscure season for Seattle to try to make a postseason run for the fact that they knew that the Niners would not be in it, whether it was a combination of injuries and stupid tough strength of schedule. That was the reason why San Francisco wasn't in the mix this year. I can tell you going into next season, I'm pretty much picking the 49ers to win that division.
Because they have a weak schedule. Yeah, they're going to have a weak schedule.
Yeah, so that's like already like 4. Basically, you can just give them outright. You can give them 4 wins right off the bat. Brock Purdy, like he's going to get paid for sure. But like that humbleness, bringing in guys, who knows? Maybe this is a team that makes a play for T. Higgins. Hard to say. I don't know. I don't think Brandon Ayuk is worth it. Plus, Brandon Ayuk's leg is completely messed up now. So like, I don't know. There's something they gotta figure out how to move on there. They gotta admit defeat and say we screwed up on Brandon Ayuk. It just is what it is. You could be Atlanta and say you screwed up $100 million on Kirk Cousins. So that's another thing. But honestly, I think San Francisco can get out of this. They can be all right. But yeah, I'm already looking at next season saying San Francisco is the team I definitely want to pick. I like the Rams too, though. The Rams are an excellent team. I mean, I love how quickly they were able to replace Aaron Donald. That Jared Verse guy, man, that guy's a dog, man. I love, like, of the Philadelphia Rams game, he was probably my favorite player to watch during that game. He was so fun, so intense. Just kept placating to the Philadelphia fans. Guy had no fear playing in the snow. And this is a guy from Florida State. So I like this Rams team. I really like the Rams and Niners going into next season.
Nice. Speaking of people moving, how about we transition to some of the most important things for even a team like yours? But let's start on like the Dallas Cowboys. They got themselves a new coach.
Yeah, they got themselves a new coach in Marty Schottenheimer's son, Brian. I got to give this guy kind of a fair crack at it to see what happens. To me, he kind of reminds me of like a Nick Sirianni kind of guy, to be honest. Has no real like legit time calling plays. So I don't know what's really going to be happening there. I was kind of surprised that he got the job. I was expecting a guy like maybe a Kellen Moore from Philadelphia to take that job, considering he was an offensive play caller for the Cowboys not too long ago. So for Brian Schottenheimer to get it, I'm kind of unsure about. To me, I feel like they could do better in coaching hiring, and again too for that team to move off of Mike McCarthy. I didn't think was right. I think McCarthy did a really good job there considering what he had to work with. So to me, this is definitely a downgrade in coaching.
Yeah, I'm very, very confused by this one. It's the Dallas Cowboys, and they have shots at just about anybody.
Yeah, they did.
Why did they pick him? It's the question.
And you have pretty much somewhere between the 10th and the 15th best quarterback probably in the NFL with Dak Prescott. So you have an established quarterback, so you don't have to really panic too much about that position. If you can figure out that and start to get better on defense, it might not be too bad of a roster.
Right. And you don't know exactly who they're cutting and who they're moving but like I'm at a loss for words. He started
Yeah.
in the 90s, right? Like he's kind of old.
Yeah, I just think of all these possible coaching candidates out there. This is a guy to me that wasn't even on the radar. I mean, we're talking. There's essentially one job left, and either Mike McCarthy or Joe Brady is not going to get one of those jobs. Like one of them is not going to be a head coach, and that's shocking to me. I neither is Brian Flores.
I know. It's weird.
Yeah,
This coaching hire cycle was like you heard all of these names and this and that and of course, people are just putting out their 2 cents, but it's like this guy's been with 9 franchises and this is his first head coaching job.
yeah. It to me, it's kind of confusing. I mean, I love the way his father coached. His father was an amazing coach in the NFL. A really good guy too, from kind of what we heard LaDainian Tomlinson and Drew Brees speak about him. But I don't really know much about Brian, and I'm like you. I'm a little concerned about it. I mean, I would almost rather want to roll into the season with the coordinators that the Raiders had
Yeah.
when you had both father and son calling the offense. So I'm shocked that you didn't give that a shot as opposed to just Brian. I don't know. I don't think Brian to me is qualified to be a head coach.
All right, now this one's even more confusing to me
Sure.
because of how things have gone. So Jacksonville's owner, Shad Khan, shout out
Yes.
to AEW, just saying, his
There you
son.
go.
But it's a wrestling reference. I don't know if you know that one, Metrics. But he basically interviewed a bunch of people, and then all the people were like, no, we don't want to work for your GM. And then he was like,
Yes.
oh, well, okay. And then Liam Cohen comes in and he's like, well, if you fire your GM, I would accept the job, but I say no. Then they wait like a couple days, a week, and then
Yeah.
Shad Khan fires the GM. Liam Cohen comes back and he's like, yeah, we have a deal. What?
Yeah, that one's kind of wild. I mean, he was a name I did hear in this mix, and I think he man, to me, like I'm shocked that he got in so quick. I thought he was going to be one of those guys to maybe pick up like a New Orleans kind of job at the end, because to me he would be behind both Ben Johnson and Joe Brady, but hierarchy wise, he actually moved ahead of Joe Brady, which to me is kind of shocking. But he is a name that I definitely did hear starting to make the rounds a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Like I read he because he was with Tampa Bay. I read that
And L.A. with Sean McVay before that.
yeah, I read that he legit took his name out of the consideration. He was going to take a pay raise to go back to Tampa.
Yes,
The GM gets fired, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in." Like
I'm back.
what? Like,
Yeah, that's wild, man.
this is insane.
Yeah, I've not heard about that. I mean, it just tells you kind of like how bad, like nobody wants to work with Trent Baalke and
Yeah,
kind of how much of a snake that guy is. But
it's
yeah, I mean, I like Liam Cohen was about to become the Ben Johnson of this year. He was about to become the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL, which is pretty cool. So I give him props for
crazy.
that.
The crazy part is this report, and because I pulled it back up, this report's on NFL.com. So it's not
Oh
just some
gosh,
made up, like, oh man,
yeah,
this website XYZ. It is NFL.com. I'll read the exact quote or
sure,
exact way they wrote it in. The
yeah,
hiring follows a couple of days in which Cohen voluntarily pulled out consideration for the job, choosing to instead return to the Buccaneers with a pay raise. Hours after Cohen's decision to stay with the Bucs became public, the Jaguars fired their GM, Trent Baalke, seemingly reopening an avenue to partner with Cohen. Like what? How public
yeah.
is that? To just be like, that GM is that bad. Like he can't get another job in the NFL, right?
No. I think considering that you had this happen in Jacksonville and you had what happened in San Francisco with Harbaugh, I think Trent Baalke is done. He is done.
Yeah.
So I'm more props to Liam Cohen getting that. And to me, the Jacksonville job was kind of what I thought was maybe about the fourth best job that was available out there in the NFL. So, like, I think that's a really good gig for whoever got it.
Now, speaking of good gigs, because I think this could actually like work.
Sure.
I love that Aaron Glenn goes back to the Jets. Like that's kind of cool to me. I mean, he got drafted there as a first round pick. Like,
oh, cool.
I remember playing like Madden in the early '90s on like Super Nintendo, right? And Aaron Glenn would always be my like defensive back because he was rated like 95 or something.
Nice.
I would use him and Deion Sanders because they were like the highest rated guys.
Yeah.
Totally. I was cheating. Totally cheating. I was like 5.
Yeah.
It's whatever.
I know. Yeah. It is what it is, but man, like he kind of brings that DeMeco Ryans kind of mentality with what's going on in Houston. I mean, we'll see. It may not be exactly like DeMeco, but that's probably the mentality that the Jets were looking at by going with him. Is seeing what DeMeco did as a former player. Now he's the head coach, bring some life into the team. It's a team that has a good roster.
Yeah.
Although when it comes to defense, I'm a little shocked. I was pretty shocked by this, man, watching the game on Sunday. I had no clue that Mekhi Becton was an Eagle. I had no clue, man. I always thought he was a Jet. And this was his first year as an Eagle, man. Mekhi Becton, like an insane draft pick out of Louisville. This is a guy that literally physically picked up offensive linemen and threw them to the side. He actually picked people off the ground in Louisville. He's a massive, massive guy. And now he gets to play defense alongside Jalen Carter. That's borderline unfair with the Eagles, man.
Yeah. And I don't know. The Jets, they have pieces. I mean, they have Sauce Gardner and Williams and Hall and Wilson and whoever's going to play quarterback. I don't know. Speaking of
this is a middle of the road team, man.
Yeah. Speaking of whoever's going to play quarterback. No, I'm just kidding. Chicago Bears got Ben Johnson, and
I love it.
No. As a Packer fan, I do not. This guy,
tough man.
No. I don't care that he's there. Bears suck. Anywho.
Not anymore, man. Not anymore.
So, the fact that this guy comes in and says, "Oh, I like beating the Packers. I'm really good." Like, yeah, he was 5-1 with Detroit against Matt LaFleur, yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, dude. Like, you were with the Lions. Like, sure. The Packers were transitioning from another quarterback to Jordan Love, who, happens to make the playoff. Like, simmer down. Simmer down. Like, you're with the Bears now. The Bears don't win anything. I will get off my soapbox.
Until now.
No. Don't do that to the Bears. Do not.
I'm telling you, man. Straight up, this is the easiest worst to first.
Don't give them hope, because the Bears, they will take all of this hope. Chicago Bears fans, but what Grady, him.
I do. Shout out to Grady. We love that guy.
He's probably going to hear this, but don't give him hope. Because
he's getting a lot of hope from me, man.
They become obnoxious. Think of this year. They were like, "Oh man, we got all the receivers. We got a running back. We got Caleb Williams." Mm-hmm. Guess what? Caleb Williams isn't even the best quarterback in the draft class. Oh, he actually might go to the Super Bowl. Just saying. But for the guy to come in his own press conference and go, "Yeah, I like beating Matt LaFleur." And you know what? Just saying.
I love it.
Just saying.
Yeah. For me, this is straight up. I mean, we haven't picked our. We are way before picking divisional winners and whatnot.
Don't do it. Don't.
I am licking my chops at this one. This is by far my easiest, worst to first divisional winner going into next season.
San Francisco. No, easily San Francisco.
Oh, wait, was did they actually rank lower than Arizona?
They did. I was looking at it. San Francisco was 6-11. Arizona was 8-9. You take it back.
Gosh. All right. Yeah, I'll take that back.
Okay.
But Chicago will be my number 2 outright. I think this is To me, like the NFC is kind of a little bit easier to forecast than the AFC going into next season. But I like the way Chicago is going with their coaching hire. I know they are picking up some of the defensive and special teams coaches from the New Orleans Saints. So they're going to bring on Dennis Allen. When Dennis Allen is not a head coach, he's an excellent defensive coordinator. So you have that going on. They want to bring on the special teams coach from the Saints who had their interim head coaching duties throughout the season. So I'm okay with that. The other hirings that I also like with the Bears is they hired on two different players. I forgot the first player that is hired on as a former player. But then they also brought in your former corner, was previously on Mike McCarthy's staff. Former Green Bay Packer Al Harris is working the secondary for the Chicago Bears now. I really love seeing the rise of Al Harris, and I really hope we get to the point that he becomes a DC pretty soon. But I really like these additions that Ben Johnson's bringing in. He's bringing in a pretty good staff now that he's getting time to build it, and he has the job. I mean, yeah, I know you love Jordan Love and whatnot, but man, I'm ready to roll into next season and say flat out, Caleb Williams will be the best quarterback in that division, and I'm ready to go there.
Nope, I'm shutting this down. We are moving on. So
that's debate. That's debate.
Yeah, no, that's debate. It's definitely debate. We're gonna skip the debauchery of New England because I think we already talked about that.
And even more of a bummer, they brought in Josh McDaniels.
Yeah,
like
I don't understand how that guy keeps getting jobs. But anywho, how about the most important part of this entire segment?
Oh boy,
the oldest coach in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And I will give you the table.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like what happened to Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco, but I do like bringing in Pete Carroll, someone that's a player's coach, someone that players are excited to play for. I like seeing that. And also, too, a guy who kind of is good at kind of developing quarterbacks to a degree, somehow getting the pieces in place to give the support that kind of a new upping quarterback needs to succeed. So he had that in Russell Wilson, and he did that in Geno Smith as well. So the quarterback, so there's kind of like a few ways that this can work, but I really hope it does happen through the draft. And we'll see what happens because it's going to get a little quiet and a little bit weird once we start moving past this championship Sunday. But being the Raiders, I think there's only really one team ahead of us that is looking at Shedeur Sanders, the son of Dion. I think Tennessee is going Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward to Tennessee is the way it's going to happen. If that happens, that gives us a shot at getting Shedeur. Now the trick is Dion going to shut down the other teams and say the only team he wants his son to play for is Vegas? If that happens, it's going to be bananas. It's going to be just crazy, crazy bananas throughout all the casinos and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I could see Pete Carroll and Shedeur Sanders having a good relationship, to be honest. So I think that would be really cool. Aiden O'Connell is good to have on the roster as well. We would need a third quarterback. I don't know who that is, but it's got to be a veteran. I've theorized Aaron Rodgers would be kind of cool, but it is what it is. But I like the personality of Pete Carroll. I think he's a fun guy to have. He's a player's coach. So just like Antonio Pierce, Pete Carroll is also a player's coach. So I give him props on that hiring. And we heard Pete Carroll was kind of in the position to possibly be the Chicago Bears head coach. But the fact that, I mean, to me, just being straight up honest, like the Raiders' job of the 6 openings that were out there, the Raiders' job was obviously in the bottom 2 with the Jets. So the fact that being in the bottom 2, getting Pete Carroll, I'm okay with that.
Okay. I understand completely. I personally think the only reason that their job was not substantially bigger was because of what division they're in.
The toughest coaching division in the NFL.
Yeah. I am actually giving your Raiders a lot more credit now. It tells me they are trying to win now, right? So there's got to be upgrades all across the board because Pete Carroll's 73 years old. He's not going to be there for the long term. So they're trying to win like right now, which is crazy. Yeah. But then I go in deeper and I go, the Raiders have like $100 million in cap.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot of money we got.
Okay. Now, you just told me, which, I was on the Shedeur bandwagon a long time ago for the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So they got their quarterback, all right? They got Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ridder, Gardner Minshew, whatever. Do they let Shedeur play right away, or does Pete Carroll go get a guy like Aaron Rodgers?
Well, he excellent track record with Matt Flynn.
Yeah.
And Russell. The way that played out was beautiful.
Now you got to think of it this way. Okay. What does Rodgers cost you? $30 million maybe at this point. Cool. Sure. All right. Can you go get a T. Higgins? Or, hey, guess what? DK Metcalf, because Pete Carroll has that.
Oh, he does have the connection. That is ironic.
Now you match him up with a Trey Tucker, who you kind of like. A Jacoby Myers is still there. Those guys aren't number ones, but they're maybe number 2s and 3s,
Yeah, totally.
They're solid.
Totally.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the Halloween killer or Brock Bowers.
Absolutely. So, 12 personnel.
Aaron Rodgers loves him some tight ends. Just
exactly.
I don't know if I should say that. That sounded
and it's both ways. Both ways.
Your defense was actually pretty solid.
Yep.
And you're still talking about having, after getting those, let's say the high end, you pay Aaron Rodgers $40 million, you pay DK about $25. You still have nearly $40 million in cap.
Sure.
And you just fixed your offense. You still have your draft picks.
Still need running back, though.
But $40 million, a running back, you can get a pretty good running back for $10 million, right?
Yep.
I don't know the running back names out there at free agent right now.
Yeah, free agents. No.
But that's a loaded team then.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I have this gut feeling that it is kind of positive. I mean, it's like a stock on the low end, man. Like, it's going to rise. Shout out to Palantir. Palantir is one of those.
Shedeur Sanders can sit behind a veteran quarterback because I just gave $40 million to Aaron Rodgers. But and that's the high end. I don't think he's going to make that much. If they do go out and scoop a guy like that. Man, that's and we well, I'm going to say me, not we. I don't believe in the Chargers.
I don't either, man. I feel like that's the one team in the division we can definitely leapfrog.
I like Denver, but Denver's got some holes. And if I'm giving you that much offense, I think you could beat Denver. I think you could beat Denver.
Well, we are 0-2 against them this season.
Well,
and to me, that gut feeling that I had where I felt like we could just bully Denver year in, year out, that vanished this season. Like, we flat out went 0-2 against them, and they were flat out the better team. My question to you, how much cap space does Denver have?
Ooh, let's go. I can give you the number really quick.
Yeah. Because already spicy 2025 NFL divisional winners, I am ready to put some money on the Broncos to win the West.
Only $35 million.
That's not the number I wanted to
hear. And they don't really have. They could possibly, if they cut a few players, get to 45 is what I'm seeing. Which 45 is a lot. Don't get me wrong, but that's not like you're not going to get some game changer player.
Yeah.
But now, all right, now hear me out here. Hear me out. Okay. I'm going to say some running backs to you. You give me a yes or a no.
Sure.
Ready?
Sure.
Aaron Jones.
Yes.
By the way, played with Aaron Rodgers. Just saying.
Oh my gosh. That's so weird. That's so weird. You got these crazy weird connections I didn't even think of that could totally develop in the offseason.
Najee Harris for a discount?
Yes. Actually, I did like the way that he played. He actually played fairly well considering last season was such a downgrade. So I liked what I saw on Najee this season.
J.K. Dobbins.
No,
Okay.
no. I unfortunately I think the leg injury he had at the end of this season. I think that's it.
Now, here's the number 4 that they got up here for free agent running backs going into the
Yeah.
offseason.
Yep.
This one's going to surprise you, and it kind of just it took me back a little bit.
Okay.
For a discount, Nick Chubb.
It would have to be one heck of a discount, but I would probably go with no.
Because he's coming off now. All right, now this is how my brain works.
Or did he even play last season?
Yeah. I think he got in it by the end, or by the mid. I want to say.
Okay.
Let me see.
If it's mid, I'm even more concerned. If it's way late, I'd be less concerned.
Because I think he played, and then
if you're going to tell me something like 8 games, then I want no business with him going into next season.
Because I don't think he started the beginning of the season.
Right. You're totally right, because he messed up his leg way late last season.
Now I got to find it.
Yeah.
Chubb. But now hear me out here.
We got 2 yays and 2 nays from me.
With Nick Chubb, though, let's say we get you an Aaron Jones for $10 million, and then I
love that.
Nick Chubb at your 2.
Yes.
For 5.
Gosh, man, dude, that's brilliant. Because now you have that. Now you have Sonic and Knuckles.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find. All right, here we go. Nick Chubb. Let me get his game log. Oh yeah, he played from October to December.
October to December. So we're talking
from the middle of the season to the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games.
Man, it's 8 games. Yeah, I don't like that number.
Because he came back from the injury.
I know he did
at the beginning of the season, so it wasn't like he was hurt, or it wasn't like he just got injured at the beginning. He was still. Once he came back, he was doing his thing, though.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing. I mean, we got to put on the tinfoil conspiracy hat at this point.
Yep.
For this stuff to happen, would Pete Carroll, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady basically all have to be working in unison? I mean, the guy from Tampa Bay, he's new, so he's kind of learned. He's kind of like Mike Mayock at this point. I think all 3 of those guys would have to work in unison to pull off these moves. And these are great transactions you're thinking of, man. Like, you should absolutely be a GM in the NFL at this point.
Well, I appreciate it.
That's no debate.
You were talking about Denver. Javonte Williams is a free agent.
I do like Javonte Williams.
Jeff
he's a lesser Aaron Jones, though.
That's true. Jeff Wilson's out there.
I'm going to say no.
There's some names that, can probably get you along, like a Kareem Hunt or a Cam Akers.
Yeah.
But I think they should go top notch.
Yeah, you can go top notch on that dollar spend.
Or a Najee Harris or someone like that.
Totally, man. Yeah, totally. Take these guys and see where the season goes.
Yeah.
I mean, I was theorizing. Yeah, I mean, I was theorizing, but I mean, it's a big ask, and it's a lot of crossing your fingers and tapping bobbleheads and whatnot. I mean, I would love to go into the season with Aiden O'Connell, Shedeur Sanders, and Aaron Rodgers. Right. I would love, man, if you can pull that off, you got one of the best quarterback rooms probably in the league.
Yeah.
But it's a big ask. That's not easy to pull off, but you laid it out real nicely, man. Like, if it's possible, it's there. And like you said, Pete Carroll, he's pretty much got a 3-year clock. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just is what it is.
Right. And to me, it's like, if you're going to spend $15 million on your running back room, why not go get a Najee Harris and an Aaron Jones, or a Jeff Wilson and a Najee Harris, or,
I like Aaron and Chubb.
Yeah. An Aaron and Chubb, like Javonte Williams and Najee Harris, or something like where you can get a 1-2 punch for $10-15 million. That's a steal. And then add in a wide receiver or a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. You have the space and the wherewithal to make this happen. They just got to do it.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is pretty wild with the movement of players and cap salary space to make that happen, man. That's pretty cool.
Like, yeah, I'm just looking at some of the names that are out there. Like, the Raiders could really $100 million could really do a lot of damage.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, to me, it also comes back to the fact that like we gotta see these players show up, and then we also gotta see the coordinators pull in. I mean, I don't know if Pete Carroll calls plays on defense. I think he does. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. Pete Carroll does call plays on defense. When it comes to the offensive side, it would definitely be who does Aaron work best with. That's pretty much what that would come down to.
Oh man, we're going a little long. You want to get into some picks?
Yeah, let's make some picks, man. Beverage break.
Beverage break. Always beverage break.
Always a beverage break.
So
that's no debate.
2:00 today, or is it 1:00 today? Commanders and Eagles.
It is 2:00. 2:00 Central.
It's a weird time to me.
It is. It is kind of weird, but I kind of like it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like it.
Do you have Eagles at +6 or -6? Sorry.
Yeah, Eagles -6. I do like. I mean, I am totally going to be rooting for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. I am not betting this game at all. But my gut is kind of telling me in a direction that I think the Super Bowl is going to go. I think someone mentioned this matchup to me at work, and it made a lot of sense actually when I thought about it. But Philadelphia has the best defense, the best defensive line, the best offensive line, the best running back in the game. Yeah, I'm going to be rooting for Washington. I would love to see him pull it off, but I think the way Philly plays, I just think it's going to be too much. And I love the way that you pointed out how Washington just had to like pull off all sorts of magic against a backup quarterback on Philly to win that game. I think we play the odds, and I mean we're into odds and regressing to the mean and standard deviation stuff and whatnot. I really think the Eagles are going to take care of that when it comes to expected averages.
Right. Yeah, I think the magic goes away. Yeah. It sucks to say because I mean I just want some craziness to happen, which is what Jaden Daniels is.
Yeah. That's a team I'm looking at next year. I'm really liking Washington.
The predictor for ESPN has them at 36% chance of winning the game. And
that's about right.
Tickets are quite expensive, $600 plus for nosebleeds.
That's not as I thought it would be a little more, but for Philly, that's cool.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm sadly enough, I'm going Philly.
Yeah, I'm going Philly with you on that one, but man, I'm wholehearted. I'm rooting for the Commanders. I would love to see this happen.
All right, Chiefs and Bills -1 for the Chiefs, which actually means
this is a pick 'em.
Yeah, and they actually think Buffalo's favored. They're on the road.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I would take Buffalo. It's a little bit better payback than even money, slightly. But I do like Buffalo for the fact that, I mean, sure, they're doing things on defense. Yes, they have Josh Allen. But to me, the biggest factor, and I saw this in both games, and I was really impressed against Baltimore, but I was almost like oddly more impressed against Denver. The way Buffalo runs the football, man, is just terrifying. I mean, it's kind of like how Philadelphia runs the ball, where it's like it's just so much volume and so much yardage and so much ways they can go about it. To me, the way Buffalo runs the ball is probably better than almost every single team in terms of kind of how they can mix it up on offense. Maybe them and Washington, to be honest. But Buffalo can really do it. They can do it with multiple backs, both James Cook and Ty Johnson. They really got things working well for Buffalo. And again, too, that mellow, like kind of way of thought, very Zen-like, is exactly what they're going to need to do to go into Kansas City and get the win. They're going to have to play perfect football against Kansas City to pull this off. And to me, they have the better team, and they can absolutely do that.
They are at 55% to win this game. So this game is literally just right in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't have any crazy stats for this one.
Sure.
I'm just literally going, I just want to see a three-peat. So Kansas City until someone beats them.
Yeah, it is Kansas City until someone beats them. And I do think Buffalo is that team. That's where, like, to me, if Kansas City wins this, I think they do three-peat. I do think they are overall better than both the Commanders and Eagles. But again, that Jaden Magic in Washington is crazy. So who knows what's going on there. But man, the Chiefs, like, this is definitely their hardest matchup. And we thought this was going to be that kind of matchup going into the AFC Championship. Was they would have an easy kind of game again in the divisional round, and then it would just be all sorts of hands on deck against Buffalo and Baltimore. And again, too, I think they were kind of crossing their fingers that they would actually avoid Baltimore. But either way, I still think Buffalo is the better team, and they can win this game.
I do have a quick thought on stats. So
sure,
I was talking about how Josh Allen barely threw for like 100 yards in the Baltimore game. Baltimore shut Josh Allen down. They just happened to turn the ball over a couple times. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid don't turn the ball over. That's the only way I can lean towards Kansas City, because if Josh Allen comes out and doesn't throw the ball all over the yard, and we've talked about how Kansas City's been one of the top defenses all year. Yeah, I don't. This could be rough.
I think Buffalo is going to lean heavily on their running backs. I think that's how they're going to have to work this. They have to figure out how their running backs can manipulate that defense of Kansas City in order to open up other things on offense. Now, and Khalil Shakir, like, that guy's going to work today, man.
Let's hope. Well, no, I mean, I don't honestly, just want to see a three-peat. But, like, the one thing I did pick up, though, so the over-under is 47.5 for the Eagles game. I'm hammering the over, and the over-under for the Bills-Chiefs is 49.5, which doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, they should flip those, because there's going to be no points in this game. It's going to be like 24-20. Like,
Bills Chiefs to me is going to be a low scoring game.
You're right.
Washington Philly could either be a shootout or it could be a runaway for Philadelphia.
Yeah. And tickets, believe it or not, for a Kansas City playoff championship game, $280.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Like, completely insane. And these are solid tickets too. I mean, what time is the game? How long does it take?
Oh, this is a late afternoon game, 5:30.
I know you can get there for. I mean, they're 300 level, but still, 280.
That's pretty good. Bad. Yeah, that's actually a really good bang for the buck, man. Yeah, I'm pretty shocked about that, man. But yeah, I did avoid it yesterday, but now kind of looking at this, if I were to go today, thinking about it, yeah, I think you're spot on the point spread. I like Philly almost like +6, to be honest. If I did have to bet, I'd probably be with you on the Philly, or the -6 on Philly. And then pretty much in this game, I would just roll the dice and go Buffalo straight up money line.
Nice. Well,
yeah,
that's no debate.
That's no debate, man. So, hey, there we go, man. Yeah, looking pretty good this week. We'll pretty much do the same thing next week. We got no football next week, but somehow, some way, we'll make it work. I'm Steve Metrics. That's your boy,
DJ Triggs.
And that's no debate.